Welcome back to Morning Brew with the Homeowners. I'm your host, Dmitry Lipinskiy. I have my co-host today, Randy Hurtado, all the way from Texas, and Jason Reinsman from Florida. Today, we're talking about the claims that I've paid out. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm a former contractor. I've been in contracting business my entire adult life. And today, I help homeowners with the tough situations with their contractors. If that's you, you can reach out to me and I will help you settle the dispute with the contractor. Maybe you have a question, maybe you're going between estimates, you don't know who to trust. We're here for you. Over the past 5 years, I've made thousands of recommendations and I ended up paying for 11 of them. 11 times the contractors who were on my list did not perform, did not deliver. Some of them filed bankruptcy. Some of them made very expensive mistakes. So today I'm going to share 4 stories with you. I'm going to ask my co-host today to share what they're thinking about my decision and what would they do differently and how common are these problems in a construction world today. So the very first story out of 4 that I'm going to share today comes from New Jersey. This is a very typical story of the roofing startup. A lot of roofers, when they start their companies, they don't have big pockets. They don't have a lot of monies laying around. They just literally go from full-time job to become a contractor. That was my story too. Some 15 years ago, I didn't have investors. I didn't have partners. I started a business and I went in it. And it's all good until you make very expensive mistakes. So Andy Lee reached out to us because he have hired the roofer we recommended. He had skylights. He had multiple levels on his roof. So it was a low pitch and high pitch. And what happened was the contractor who was dealing with his project was not very educated on skylights. Long story short, they have installed wrong skylights, commercial grade skylights. So the skylights needed to be 4-inch high. I think they were like 2-inch, like very low profile. So after they were done with the job, the skylights needed to be replaced. They were not up to code in New Jersey. Northern part of the country had different codes for snow loads and stuff. And they also installed shingles instead of rolled roofing on a low slope problem. So it was only $12,000 to $13,000 insurance claim, but to redo it, it would probably cost the same. And they also have some disputes and some issues. It's got heated between contractor and homeowner. Obviously, contractor was in the wrong, but long story short, contractor did not have funds to replace it out of pocket to do the job twice. And you'll be surprised how many contractors out there can only make one mistake that'll put them out of business. They don't have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in their account. So this contractor could not resolve this issue because I offered it to them. It's like, guys, obviously you have to do this, this, and this. And they did not have those resources. So we reached out to another local company and we ended up paying them $12,000. So I wrote a check to this company. An original contractor kind of was mad, say, well, the whole job was $13,000. How can repair be $12,000? And lesson number 1, when someone is fixing your mistakes, it will probably cost way more than you would do. Like do it the first time. So that's the whole story. Homeowner at the end, we're very happy. Unfortunately, we had to remove the original contractor. We don't like to recommend someone who is broke and not accountable, but that's the full story. What do you guys think, Jason or India?
Skylights are pretty common. It's like a problematic area. But honestly, it's usually cheaper just to remove the whole plane and redo it the right way when it comes to like rolled roofing versus shingles. It's a pretty common thing that we see. And so for me, it's always for the customer to ask a lot of questions. Like my main thing is like, what's the biggest problematic area on my roof and how are you going to solve that to each contractor that comes out to like prevent this? And so some contractors are going to say the low slope, we're going to do rolled roofing, and then the pitch, we're going to do shingles. And they're all going to have a little bit different way of handling it. And so that's how I would approach it so you don't end up in this position.
Yeah, that's the fix on that side. This goes to show too that even contractors that can meet the stringent requirements of Directory can fail and not follow through like they're supposed to, and that's what the whole guarantee is about. So, like Jason said, he kind of stole the thunder on the proper way to do it, and he dealt with a product that he hadn't dealt with before, and his lack of education is what led to this ultimately.
And I would also have to say, like, a lot of guys are nice guys in the business, but it's lack of knowledge. It's business is tough. You have to, like, mistakes will happen, and you have to be financially stable to fix those mistakes. And unfortunately, in this case, mistake was so expensive. I mean, I'm pretty sure 2-3 years later, they probably could cover it. And I've covered $70,000 mistakes when I was in business, but early on, when you bootstrap, when you don't have enough cash, like one job like that, one mistake, and a lot of contractors take jobs they should not be taking, in the first place. They're desperate for extra work. They're not experts in those systems, products. I saw here incompetence. Like, if you don't know much about skylights, don't sell a skylight. If you don't know rolled roofing, low slope roofing, don't do it. I see a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of people going out of business because residential roofer would go and start bidding on commercial jobs. And one mistake there on a bigger project puts you out of business. Happens every single time. Go ahead,
Well,
Jason.
if you're a contractor and you do the same type of work every day, but you come across something that's unique, you don't necessarily not have to take the job, but find a sub that does know how to do that, that's really good at what they do in that particular respect, and then just use them for that segment of the project. So you can both take care of the customer, do the job correctly, and then you don't find yourself in this conundrum.
100%. Jason?
Yeah, the interesting thing on this, the homeowner, it's hard for the homeowner too, because they probably got a 50-year warranty. So they probably expected to call them, get it replaced and fixed. But that 50-year warranty is from the manufacturer for defects, not for leaks. And so I think that the industry itself does a really bad job of explaining warranties. So the homeowner really probably didn't understand it fully, thinking that a leak is a warranty.
Exactly. Well, people often call me crazy for make a recommendation and back it up with my own money, but the thing is, someone has to. And when I look at these guys, like, we're trying to educate them, we're trying to teach them, because I don't look at everyone who commit fraud and can't return money as a bad guy per se. Sometimes there are really good intentions, but also a lot of times contractors lack of basic dispute resolution skills. In this case, the original contractor probably could have replaced and fixed his mistakes for $5,000-$6,000 at his cost if he did it within the company, but it already escalated. Conflict was so big that he lost the trust. I mean, we're talking about almost name calling, where a homeowner did not trust or wanted contractor even to be back. So, like, if you made a mistake as a contractor, you have to come clean. You have to say, hey, I made this mistake. I installed the wrong material. We're going to redo it, no matter how bad it is. But if you're defensive, if you raise your voice and someone else have to come and fix it, you're losing way more than just the work. Like, it's your reputation. It's someone will have to come and fix it, and that's going to be expensive. Lawsuits are expensive. Hiring other contractors are expensive, and well, learn lessons. I have no problems paying these claims because it's a lessons for us, and I would say they do happen, but very rarely. Actually, when we come back after the break, we will talk about another one very similar. Contractor messed it up, but he was able to make the homeowner whole, and he paid us back. We paid the claim. But any last words on this one?
Yeah, I think it's more embarrassing to have another contractor do it. Like, I'd rather be embarrassed in front of the homeowner and fix the problem than my competitor coming to do it for me. So to me, it's like, resolve it with the homeowner first.
But a lot of contractors don't have. So I've paid out 11 claims. Every single one of them, I was that reasonable party. Like, I was the one who pretty much came to the homeowner, say, what do you want? What will make you happy? And came to the contractor, what will make you happy? And they both agreed on something. Next story is actually amazing illustrator to that. And then we settle the case. We pay the new contractor or come to a resolution and give the money back, and everybody's happy. That's the hardest thing in these disputes. When we come back, we'll talk about contractor roofer from Minnesota who decided to become a siding contractor and what happened later. If you're done climbing ladders to clean out leaves every season, this is the solution. RainDrop guards are built to last, even through hail and heavy weather. They sit at the angle so leaves side right off, no more clogs. They also look great. The black design blends with your roof and helps melt snow in winter. Save yourself hassle and visit raindropgutterguard.com or ask your contractor about RainDrop today. And we are back sharing stories how I paid out to claims for contractors I recommended. This one is right here in Minnesota. We have a homeowner who found a roofing contractor on Directorii.com. And that contractor have sold the homeowner siding job. It's a big lesson to all my roofers out there, all my general contractors out there, and also to the homeowners about what happens when you hire a generalist and not specialist. In this case, this guy was an amazing roofer, actually still is. As a matter of fact, this contractor is still on my recommendation list. If someone needs a roofer, I'll recommend him. He's still listed. We actually sent another professional siding contractor to this job. For those of you who don't know, I moved to Minnesota in 2005, and I started as a siding installer with my best friend, Alex, right here in Twin Cities. So I've installed siding for 6-7 months back in 2005, and then I moved to another state. And now it's a full circle for me. 2 years ago, when Brandy came to me, she was 2 hours away from us, a little bit in the boonies, but here in Minnesota. I asked Alex, fix that job. He's the best siding installer I know to this day. I said, Alex, I'll pay you just whatever needs to be done. The whole job was a mess. This contractor did not know what he's doing. Like, a lot of contractors think that, other trades, it's just materials and labor, and it's all similar. It's not all similar. Like siding, vinyl siding, I've been certified with the Vinyl Siding Institute. There are a lot of people who cannot pass that certification because it's complicated. It goes against your common sense sometimes. So a lot of contractors, like for example, roofing contractors and like painting contractors, their solution to every problem is caulking, right? So on this, like you're not supposed to caulk vinyl siding, right? So on this job, there was a lot of caulk, windows, like a lot of things started leaking. Why? Because it's not their specialty. So a lot of things went wrong. We fixed it. I paid for the repairs. And the original contractor could not pay for the repairs, but he did a payment plan. He paid us back. That's why he's still listed to this day. So we did not lose money. I got my money back, but it was like 3 or 4 months. He admitted that he should not be doing siding. And a lot of contractors up north do these kind of things. Roofers do siding, painting, 500 other trades, concrete. And that's where you see this bad stories that goes, published on the news, end up on a local news even, where, one contractor who does not know what to do with the concrete. He just takes concrete. Why? Because he's desperate for cash. Guys, do you see it in your markets as well, where, generalists take too many trades, and that's where a usual nightmare experience for the homeowner starts?
Absolutely. Yeah, the chuck in a truck that can do everything. We see it the most during the hailstorms when everybody's a roofer after a hailstorm. And it's actually a big problem, especially in your neck of the woods, when you have seasons where you can't do one trade, so you do another. Unless you really take the time to focus on that art, you're going to have these problems.
I see a lot of guys doing fences, and funny part is a lot of people actually start company and they start adding it to their names. It'll be like roofing and fences, roofing and siding, and some of them are complementary. So there's a lot of good guys who's doing siding and roofing. And how would you say homeowner can interview the contractor before giving the check, before hiring them? What kind of interview would you do to identify if you have a specialist and generalist? Because a lot of contractors will take any job. They just, yes, we do that. How do you identify a real specialist, like real professional in front of you?
For me, I probably sound like a broken record. I say this all the time. Is like I would always ask the contractor to identify the biggest problematic area that has to be solved and how they're going to do that. And that's usually going to separate somebody with experience versus somebody that doesn't, but it's also going to give a heads up to the customer to look for that in the next contractor. But a lot of times, like, show me a job that you put on before, like where I can drive by and see what that looks like, is always good. There's tons of Google reviews helps, but like social media for me is really good. Being very active in it really shows that the contractor cares about his reputation. That's one way to help. But for me, it's always, what's the toughest area on my house or on my siding job or my roofing job, and how are you going to approach that? And it usually defines the contractor, or helps narrow it down.
Yeah, I think the contractors do themselves a disservice, the actual opposite of what they're hoping to do when they, especially with their naming convention, when they're, DT roofing, gutters, siding, and fried chicken. Nobody's buying that guy's fried chicken because he doesn't specialize in that, right? I've actually spoken about this specifically. It's if you're going to get into a different trade, try to launch a different company entirely. Because if I'm looking for siding, I'm probably not going to go with Eustace Roofing, siding, gutters, and painting when I have Al's siding right in front of me, because it tells me that that's what Al does. Al focuses on siding. This Eustace company does that and all of these things. And so it doesn't really, jive oftentimes that they're going to be a specialist at that particular trade. And there are exceptions. Obviously, there are companies out there that do very well. It's not uncommon to see roofing coupled with window installs and siding. But it does affect, from the consumer standpoint, it does affect their decision making if they have a company that seems to be a specialist in that particular thing they're looking for.
100%. And I do have mixed feelings here because on one side, I do feel bad for people who are trying to support for their families and they're trying to learn new trade. And for them, it's all about just revenue and hard work. But at the same time, you cannot do incompetent work. And I think, Randy, you nailed it with the name. My advice to both homeowners and the contractors here is stay focused. Doing less is doing more. For the homeowners, it's hire true specialists. Like if you're looking for a roofing contractor, type in on that Google search, roofing contractors near me. And if you see, Siders Are Us, on a website, or like, just go for a roofing contractor. Go for someone who's true specialist. You need a gutter guy, go for that. And contractors too. The less you do, the more of it you can do. And I think it comes from our insecurity. Every time I meet someone who has big magnet on their truck and it says bathrooms, kitchens, tile, so we actually did a little investigation here 6 months ago. We were painting our studio and we went on Craigslist and called, we took 5 estimates from contractors off Craigslist. And the guy who stole $2,000 from me, actually, he has a warrant for his arrest now because he didn't show up in court recently. When I called him, so he asked for Zelle, and the part of investigation was whatever they do, we document and, you give them. So $2,000 was not a lot of money for a good investigation, even though we did have a feeling that we'll never see our money back. So we wired him money. Then he starts ghosting me. When I start calling him, on his voicemail says, he's a painter, blah, 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 J Painting Services. By the way, if you need a limousine, I have a limo. And so he rents this limo. It's literally his voicemail. Because when you do too much, you can't be good at it. And it comes from our insecurities. Why do contractors list 20, 30 services on their trucks? Because they are afraid that they will not have a job. If I want to do floors and one day I don't have a flooring job, I still can paint. It's that plan B, plan C, plan, right? They have too many plan Bs, plan Fs, and whatever. So they think it comes from their insecurities. But I promise you guys, if you're really good at your trade, I don't know anyone who is really good at what they do, who is not successful. Like, I'll give you an example. I have a friend who only installs carpet for the past 10, 12 years. His house is paid off. He goes on vacations. He works 9 to 3 every day. He did my house like 2-3 years ago. He was there, honestly, 9:30 to like 3 o'clock. It was $1,200 job. He made his grant in 6 hours, and he only does carpets. You know how long I'm waiting for him? Probably 4 weeks. Like, I have to get on his schedule. When you become good at anything, people are going to be in line for you. But if you're going to play this game that you do siding and you do gutters and you're going to spread yourself out so thin that one day you're going to start making mistakes because you're doing trades you should not be even touching.
And sometimes too, from the contractor side, you'll have an installer that tells you they know how to do it. You got to trust them if you're not knowledgeable in it. So to me, it's always like, you got to have the knowledge before you get in, because you can't always trust the installer, because he's going to tell you he knows how to do everything when it comes to like siding and you're a roofer. And so you yourself as the business owner have to have the knowledge in it so you can guide them and make sure it's done right.
100%.
Yeah. And sometimes reputation that you build in one trade can carry over to you being successful in others. I'll give you an example. So I'll point out Jason over here, my colleague on the show. He's with Eustace Roofing out of Florida. They have an excellent reputation. They've been in business for like 70 years. So if he wanted to start Patriot Siding, a Eustace company, that would mean something.
Oh, yeah.
In his advertisement, right? Because Eustace has a name known for roofing that people already trust, but it's still a siding company separate. So that's a way that you can get into another area and not necessarily clutter your main name with a bunch of different trades and still be able to try out other professions.
100%. And you, Randy, you guys done the same thing. DT Roofing, all the brands that your company does by DT Roofing, the same thing. But that's the key. To become a specialist, you have to brand that name. You have to brand that service. Years ago, we were doing, I had 3 companies, construction companies I used to have here in Minneapolis. It was Stormgroup Roofing, Gutter King of Twin Cities, Ice Dam Liquidators. Every time I pick a new trade, I went all in. It's new website, it's new team, it's new everything, because I want to be that specialist. Guys, we're going to go on a break. When we come back, I will share a story of just theft. When someone just took money, run away, and I have to give that money back because I promised that I will not recommend bad contractor. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Shout out to our sponsor this week, IKO. I actually have IKO Dynasty shingles on my own home. I've been recommending them for years because they're tough, reliable, and they look great. They're heavyweight, which really helps with the wind. And they have a Class 3 impact rating, which is the standard a lot of insurance companies are looking for. Plus, the color options are great. If you're planning on a roof project, ask your contractor about IKO Dynasty or find a certified IKO Roof Pro at Directorii.com. And we are back. For the next 12 minutes or so, we're going to talk just about theft. Unfortunately, no matter where you find your contractor, no matter what kind of background they have, they might be in business for 20 years, all good, never have done anything bad, and then one day they file a bankruptcy and you might be on the end of it. So what happened here, this job was in Pennsylvania. Homeowner finds contractor on my recommendation list, Directorii.com, and homeowner gave him $4,000 deposit on an $8,000 job and never ever heard from him again. We never could reach a contractor. The background, he did have a good reviews. He did background check. Everything checks out. Unfortunately, in the contracting world, it's very, very common. If a contractor wants to file bankruptcy, last customers usually the one who will be at loss. I have a good friend, Dan Young, here in Iowa, neighboring state. And he is a contractor all his life, big roofing contractor in Iowa, and he gave $11,000 check to his garage guy. And within a couple of weeks, garage guy filed bankruptcy, and he's like, now what? I need to do it again. And it was a big garage company. So it happens all the time. It's not uncommon. My thing is, if you ask me for a recommendation and I recommend someone to you and they file bankruptcy, this is what we do. It's not the first time it happened, and probably not the last. It's very hard to predict here because I can teach you how to screen, how to read reviews, all of that. I always tell people that if someone wants to steal from you, you might as well just put money on the table, because they will find a way. I'm like that in my businesses. I don't try to hide my checkbooks and everything, because if those who are trying to do something shady, they will find a way to deceive. That's just the reality. And in the construction world, it's very, very common. Guys, what kind of stories do you have, do you hear, and do you agree with my assessment? I mean, there's not much you can do it here. I mean, legal system is there. You can prosecute, you can get them felonies and all of that stuff. But unfortunately, it's the name of the game for our industry.
Yeah, it's pretty common here, especially in roofing. Roofers will rack up a huge bill with the suppliers. And then Get Out Roofing or change the name of their roofing company the next month. And it's hundreds of thousands of dollars typically. So it's a big plus for the roofer to not pay and leave with the money. But typically the homeowner ends up with a lien on their home because the roofer didn't pay his supplier. So a lot of homeowners are unaware of that their house can be liened from the manufacturer or the supplier. And so that's why I always recommend to get a lien release when the job is finished before you pay.
I have a question for both of you, Randy and Jason. This is just my personal observation. You've been in the industry for many, many years. You've seen a lot of contractors. The biggest red flag that I have in the industry is a shiny contractor. So anyone who likes, showing off, like being very bougie on the internet, Rolexes, high life, high trucks, vacations. We know how much contractors make. Like it's hard work. Okay. It doesn't, like, even if you're on $10 million company, it's hard work. It's usually not millions of dollars. If you pay your bills and you do everything right, you can make decent money. But every time I meet someone who does $3, $5, $6 million and live a $1 billion lifestyle, you can kind of see like too many vacations. Like Lambo too soon, like in my opinion, right? Something's not checking it. Like usually that's where we start hearing, like I covered last year, Next Gen, they were doing $25 million, $25 million company, a couple hours from us, filed bankruptcy, lost 20, 30 homeowners, will not see their money, right? BBB accredited, whole 9 yards, but nobody gonna see their last checks. We recently did a story in one in Illinois. Attorney General announced there was over 300 victims. Like the company was huge, like $50, $60 million. So usually when you see company trips to Cancun for an entire sales team, I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not hating on that. But for me, it's such a big red flag. Like who is paying for it? Do you really have those kind of finances, or you just, I don't know. Like, tell me if it's me or you do see that pattern too.
Oh, I definitely see it. I see a lot of contractors who seem like they want to live out a past fantasy of a certain lifestyle on social media to look bigger than they maybe are. But I also see how they carry themselves too. They have to remember that their social media accounts are a direct reflection of the customer's first impression of them. So I would walk a little with a little bit more humility and on social media, because, well, in life, period. But the way you carry yourself in social media could lose you jobs too before you even met the customer, just because what you're talking about. You have to, unfortunately, in business, you have to choose on what exactly you talk about on social media as well, because sometimes you're bound to lose 50% of your audience, depending on what the topic is. But yeah, if I'm seeing a guy that is constantly showing off a Lamborghini or his real fancy home or what have you, and he's real obnoxious about it, that's probably going to turn me off as a consumer to work with that company. Focus on what you do well and your professionalism.
I've covered quite a few solar scams, and they have one thing in common too. A lot of solar companies went upside down, and I literally called one guy because he was telling me how tough the business was, and he claimed $500,000, but he is in Ferrari Club in Dallas market, and he's like, I mean, if you go to his Facebook, Like, you're like, really? So you have this Ferrari, that Ferrari, and you do this, and that, but now you cannot give your five homeowners, 10, 15, $20,000 back because you filed bankruptcy because you invested in this company $500,000, but you would not sell your Ferrari. Like, come on, like something is not checking out here, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's usually long term for contractors to kind of get to that point, and new people in the industry don't realize it took you 20 years to get to where maybe you can actually buy that Ferrari. But the short term guys usually fail in that in some areas, and a lot of times like the margins aren't huge, and you got to set money aside for when things go wrong. That money that you set aside can't be in a Ferrari. It needs to be in a bank account so you can solve the problem really fast, and the homeowner doesn't have to call Directory where the contractor can solve it. So to me, like that reassurance is the money that's set aside in case something goes wrong, not the Ferrari. The Ferrari might be something that comes long term, but where good contractors are is they invest in equipment, things that make the job site easier, can produce more for the
Shops,
guy
teams.
installing it. Yeah, so you'll see good contractors have good equipment. That's where they put their money, and it's usually a good sign they're a good contractor.
Very valid point. Another thing I want to say too, when you first reach out to the contractor, think about the leverage. Like I always tell people, if you want to go in business with someone, like, partnership business, always think about exit. Always think about how that a relationship will end in case it's not going to work out. So many people have no leverage. They go in business together and then a couple of years later, oh, it's not going to work out. Now you have nasty dispute. Well, the same thing here. If you hire a contractor and you've never been at his shop, you've never, like, you only have one phone number, like, and this would happen with this guy because we've done our background check and we've done, but we're not, we're remote. It's Pennsylvania. We haven't, we don't, he did have a website, he did have good reviews, but if a contractor have 20 Google reviews, he can start over. So if you're the homeowner, you will not have leverage if the contractor does not have good online presence, because contractor with the 700 online reviews has a lot to lose. Contractor with the 5 Google reviews have nothing to lose. He will close the business and start over. Contractor with a big name with 50 people working for him has a lot to lose. And I'm not saying you always have to hire a bigger contractor, but think about the leverage. If I give this guy this check and he disappears, how am I going to chase him? What do I have? Like, are you ready just to lose your money? Because in some checks, I mean, I'm dealing with the one right now for $32,000. Some of the contractors often get pissed because homeowners are not trusting them down payments. But if you look at the stories where homeowners lose money and what it means to them, I mean, if homeowner loses 20, 30 grand, they might not be able to do the job if they lose it. Like, it might be all their savings account. So don't blame the homeowner for not trusting you. You have to build that trust. And there's escrow services. We offer that too. Use third party. Don't ever overpay a contractor. I mean, you have to have a leverage. Maybe I know a lot of contractors don't like it. I'm actually a big fan of it. Pay contractor when materials delivered, because now you at least have something. I mean, what difference does it make? So if he wants $4,000, just say deliver materials. So we'll have 2 pallets of materials here, and I'll give you the check. Right? Like, that's what you do when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's. You don't just hang the money without getting anything. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
other? Go ahead.
statistically, when you're thinking about which roofing contractor you're going to choose, and obviously Directory is a great place to start. Consider this: 96% of roofing contractors fail within the first 5 years of business. 96%. So that's a lot of roofers. And that's a lot of customers that are not able to call the guy back after their roof starts to leak or the job was botched because that person's no longer in business. So this is an industry where it is so important to know who you're working with. Obviously Eustace, Jason and I have completely smashed out that statistic, but it is a big problem in America.
100%. always think about leverage. Jason, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I think like brick and mortar buildings, like a place where you can go find the business, really helps with that. So you know where to track them down at. It usually is a better sign than somebody that doesn't have that.
Yeah, if someone works from home and they don't have anything, they're going to be harder to find. 100% agree. When we come back with the last story, I'll share what fake bankruptcies means and what I mean by fake bankruptcy, because it's also very trendy these days.
You ever been scammed by a contractor? That'll wreck your budget real fast. I've heard the horror stories. Guys taking deposits and skipping town, or leaving jobs half done. It's a mess. That's why I tell folks to use Directorii.com. Every contractor on there is financially vetted and background checked. These are real pros, not fly-by-night jokers. And here's the part I love. When you hire through Directorii, your job is backed by a $20,000 guarantee. If something goes wrong, they've got your back. Don't be a victim. Take control. Go to Directorii.com. That's Directorii with 2 I's, and hire with confidence.
And we are back. Our last story is nasty one, just like all of them, to be honest with you today. I'm sorry for negativity, but I want you to be prepared for the worst case scenario and think, what would you do as a homeowner if that would happen to you? So this last one, it's actually the saddest one for me, because I recommended this contractor in Oklahoma for a couple years. And at the end, he filed bankruptcy. I still argue to this day, he was not bankrupt. He just ran away from his obligations. He didn't want to be accountable. He was doing about $2 million a year worth of business. He made one mistake on one job that cost him about $70,000. If you owe $70,000 and you do $2 million in business as a roofer, you are not bankrupt. But because of that mistake, he decided to file bankruptcy and play victim card and, you know, everything with it. And he's like, it is what it is. I give up. I throw towel. And not on that job that he made a mistake on, but on another job, he did not pay his bills. So the homeowner reached out to us, say, Dmitry, I found this guy on Directorii.com. And now I received the lien from the supplier. So lien was for $4,230. So I called the guy. He's like, no, I'll pay you back and this and that. I don't have it now. So I paid the lien. And of course, the guy, Jordan Desban is the name. A lot of people in the roofing industry knows him because he's still trying to help other roofers with their marketing materials, what's not. So Jordan, I told him, Jordan, you're not bankrupt. If you want a business advice, you are anything but bankrupt. You know, go work hard. Like, it's a beautiful industry. If you work hard, you'll make out of it, no problem. Make some arrangements, you know, live beyond your means. You'll pay back. I mean, I paid back hundreds of thousands of dollars in tough times, and I did not file bankruptcy. So can you, right? But this guy, that was his path. And I see a lot of guys like that. Recently, I talked to another one in Texas, couple $100,000 in debt, and he pretty much told me, I don't care, I don't want to be in business anymore, my bankruptcy will wipe it out. Guys, do you see those fake bankruptcy when people just changing their names, running away from their obligations just because they can? I think it's too easy in this country to file bankruptcy, to be honest with you.
It's very common. Yeah, I see it every day, especially in the roofing trade. Randy said earlier, 96% of new roofing companies in the first 5 years, so it's pretty common. But the best way the homeowner can protect themselves, when they make that final payment or they are giving the check over to the contractor, they should absolutely require a lien release during that time. And that's going to protect that from ever happening. It's a very common thing for the supplier to protect themselves from roofers, because it's so common for them to not get paid from the roofer that they actually can lien you for the materials that are on your roof. So I always recommend a lien release that is provided by the contractor when you pay. And I would ask for that up front when you do the job or you contract with the contractor. Hey, I'm going to require a lien release when I pay in full payment, because that's going to tell the contractor that you're a homeowner that knows your stuff and you're not playing around.
Well, the thing that sucks the most for distributors, or out in Texas specifically, is you can lien a commercial property when they don't pay their materials, but you cannot lien a residential property. And so it really puts the distributor in a bind because they haven't been paid. The contractor took them for whatever jobs that they ordered that they're behind on. and they end up just having to write it off because, and possibly file suit. But yeah, in Texas at least, and I don't really look at that as protecting. It protects the homeowner from being liened, but if they're choosing contractors that are doing the right thing, then they have that protection already. But it doesn't seem right that the distributor ends up taking. Our VP of sales is formerly of that industry. He said you would not believe how common it is for guys to just rack up a huge bill and then just change names and move out of the area. And it's so sad, actually.
Well, that's part of the reason why materials are as expensive
Yep.
as they are, because it does add to the bottom line. Here's another thing. This is for my homeowners who do their homework and think that, if everything goes right on their project, they're going to be safe. Because a lot of people, when they hear these kind of stories, they're like, yeah, what's the worst case can happen to me? Contractor can steal from you. Contractor can do the bad job on you. Contractor, someone can die on you, right? But what they are not realizing, that if your contractor is robbing Peter to pay Paul, if a contractor is not financially stable, your job could be a perfect job. Like everything will go just fine. Like they'll do the good, crew will do their job, materials will show up, right? But if your contractor makes an expensive mistake somewhere else, he might be behind his bills. He might not pay his crew. He might not pay his bills, and you're gonna be getting liens. Like on your project, everything is good. You gave him money, but and this has actually happened a lot in Florida, I see, whether CMR is one of the companies, when CMR is $30 million in debt, right? So if you're the homeowner who gives them money, like $70,000, $80,000, you might be okay, you think. But if CMR is not paying their ABC bill, your money is going towards someone else's bill because they're upside down. So if you hear stories in the news that your contractor is filing bankruptcy, or like you need something, actually we have a solution now for exactly that scenario where a contractor is already on the verge on bankruptcy. The only way you can protect yourself is to use escrow services. So Directorii.com, we have integration with a Paykeeper. So Paykeeper will create a separate account it's just like buying a house. So it costs 1% of the transaction, which is way worth it. So if you have a $100,000 claim and you give it to Paykeeper, the Paykeeper then will pay supplier, sub, and pretty much pays all the bills. That's to ensure that your money will not go elsewhere. Because even if the contractor does the job and everything is good, you're not guaranteed that the final payment will go towards your bill with the supplier. That's how you end up with the bill. So you did your due diligence, your crew did the work, but then someone's not getting paid. And usually the way they treat that is older debt gets paid first. So if the contractor came up with $300,000, he's going to make payments that he was behind from 6 months ago. But you today still going to get a lien 3 months later because your bill is not even due yet. So it's going to be a big surprise for you. And this is what happened to Jordan Desbian. So he filed bankruptcy not because of this homeowner. He filed bankruptcy because his mistake on a metal job that cost him 70 grand was not. But homeowner at the end got a surprise bill because he could not pay that bill. So that's a weird scenario, but it's actually happening a lot.
Yeah, this is the reason roofing costs so much, is because distribution plans for this. They have a number that they come up with, a percentage of unpaid bills they're going to have every year. And so they charge me and Randy more because we pay our bills. We got to make up that difference for the distributor. And then you, the homeowner that pays your bills, you're making up that difference too. So we hate it just as much as the homeowners do because they charge more for materials to make up the difference from people that don't pay their bills in lien homes.
Breach it.
Absolutely good. And I know a lot of contractors hate me when I talk about deposits. We actually just published a video on the channel today. If you're listening to us on the radio, go to Roofing Insights. You'll see all our content for homeowners and contractors. We published a video today with an awesome company from Austin, Texas, Cupcake Home Improvements. Love their name too. And Cupcake, they don't take deposits. They're a big window company, never take deposits. And there's a lot of and I'm not telling that contractors should not take deposit. You should. But The thing about deposits is I think the deposits should never be more than materials needed for the job, number one. Number two, I think it builds contractor's character and discipline. If a contractor don't take deposits, or maybe take deposits on the day he starts the job, there's a way to take a deposit in the right time so you cannot use it. I know a lot of disciplined contractors, they will create new accounts just for deposits because they don't want to touch that money. They don't want to count on it. And we have contractors who spend the profit from the job even before they started, right? So like $32,000, boom, I'm done. Like, it's my money. It's not your money yet until you finish the job. So if the contractor does not have a discipline, you have to teach them discipline. So for the contractors listening, please be careful with deposits. And if you can, don't even take it until the moment you start a job. Take it as late as possible and take as small of a deposit as possible to start the job. Because deposit is a liability on your business. It's not your revenue stream. Stop treating deposits as a revenue stream. It's not. It's deposit. It's your liability. It's literally, in accounting world, it's a liability. It goes to liability bucket. That's why so many go bankrupt. Do you guys agree?
Yep. Couldn't have said it better.
So, you don't have to agree as my co-host. You can actually push back.
I agree. I mean, and I know Eustace takes a very low down. We take the very minimum that the insurance company requires from a standpoint of we take the deductible so that we can show the insurance company a separate check from the homeowner that they did pay their deductible. But that's the only reason. And then we don't collect anything else until the day of the build. So everything you were saying, you've pretty much defined what our businesses already do. And our companies are doing very well. And so it's just a matter of good practices, like you said.
No Ferraris, though. I don't have a Ferrari yet. So.
Not yet. Yeah. I absolutely appreciate you guys' company. That's why you are on the show. And if you're listening, if you need my help, you can text me 612-558-4881. I'll help as many people as I possibly can. And if I give you a bad recommendation, I probably will be paying for it with my own money. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in this week.
Don't gamble with your money, folks, especially when it comes to your home. Hiring the wrong contractor is like playing poker with your life savings. One bad hand, and poof, your money's gone, and your roof's still leaking. That's why I recommend Directorii.com. It's a free site that connects you with vetted, background-checked, financially solid contractors, real pros. And when you book through Directorii, your job is backed by a $20,000 guarantee. This isn't a roll of the dice, it's a smart move. Go to Directorii.com, that's Directorii with 2 I's, and hire with confidence.